Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa. If you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. Now, I had plans on what I was going to try and get done today because Darryl and some of the kids are off to church and then to Bunnings afterwards. But I broke a tooth yesterday. And the tooth itself is fine, but there's a really sharp edge that my tongue hits every time it moves. And so it's really sore. And talking a whole lot is not going to be on the cards because it just hurts too much. So, plans have changed. Now, it is Sunday, I think I said that, and the kids start back at school tomorrow, and I start back at work on Wednesday. So there's some planning that needs to go on around that. The kids have run out of chili oil for their noodles, so we need chili oil. Darryl uses that a lot as well. And the boys have requested some granola, so I probably need to make some granola, which is a bit of an all-day thing because it has to be cooked low and slow on multiple trays. But that's fine. You'll probably hear the washing machine in the background. I've got all my dishcloths and everything going through a good wash because it's nice and sunny, so I can hang them out. But yeah, so the plan is to clean up all the kids' desks and everything in preparation for school. Get that chili oil done and hopefully the granola, maybe some yogurt put on. But I might also just quickly whip up a couple of batches of the brioche / scroll dough because that's nice, easy food for them to eat in between classes because not all of them have breaks at the same time. And I got Darryl to get some ham for me yesterday, and we used that on the leftover bread from the stew, and then we had leftover stew over egg noodles last night as well. So I might, do a double batch of the brioche dough and figure out what I'm going to do with that. I even thought about for dinner tonight, because I haven't pulled anything out as such, but I've got all the frozen chicken patties that I bulk made. Maybe I will do chicken burgers tonight, nice and simple, because there's other things that I want to get done that aren't in the kitchen today. So if I just get all the dough done, then I can just fry off the chicken patties for dinner and it'll be fine. And I could probably request that Darryl stops in town on the way home and grabs some lettuce, because chicken burgers are always nicer with some sort of crunchy green on them. But yeah, so that's the plan. And I just don't know how much talking I will do today because it hurts quite a bit. Sleeping wasn't much fun. I kept on waking up with the tongue sort of pressing against the sharp point, and I'd have to try and adjust my mouth. But hopefully it'll wear down soon, or I'll build a callus on my tongue or whatever. But yeah, fun. Dental work is not something that I can get done easily. Anyone who's in Australia knows, but anyone who's not in Australia, dental work is not covered by any sort of Medicare or anything. It's always an out-of-pocket thing. You can go to an emergency dentist that is covered by Medicare if you hold a Centrelink card, which I do, but they only do bare minimum. And because I have trigeminal neuralgia, I cannot sit with my mouth open in a standard chair. I can't handle the suction, and I can't handle even like the air-conditioned air across my teeth with my mouth open. So everything that needs to be done has to be done either under general, or it'll send me into a full-blown attack, which then puts me out of action for a while. So I try and avoid as much dental work as possible, do the bare minimum of my dental work to maintain my health as much as I can, but I don't get any significant stuff done because I need to pay an anaesthetist and things like that to get stuff done. So because the tooth is not actually a problem, other than it being sharp, I will just leave it for the moment and persevere. But yeah, anyway, let's get some dough made up and we'll go from there. Alrighty, it is 2 o'clock. I have had Mum down here helping me with some cleaning and stuff, and we've chatted while I did dough. We cooked some of the spring rolls out of the freezer for lunch, things like that. So I didn't turn the camera on. So what I've done though is I've done a tray of cinnamon scrolls. Now this dough is a little overproofed, it's a little bit sloppy, so I've just crammed them in there so we get nice high cakey cinnamon rolls. I've got a tray of sliders proofing for tomorrow's lunch, and 2 trays of hamburger rolls that'll probably be dinner tonight. And I also have some of the low carb dough proofing in the proofing box at the moment. Now my mouth is really sore, so I don't know what else I'll talk about while doing because it hurts. I'm thinking I might make myself a coffee. The boys would really like some granola and some yogurt, and I need to make chili oil, but I think I'm going to have a break first while these proof, and then I'll come back and see how my mouth is going and decide what else I want to do. My oven has stopped working. The stovetop is still working, but the pilot light in the oven will not work no matter what we do. Now it's a commercial oven, so I'm not sure about repairs or anything. It's been playing up for a while. It was second hand. So I don't know. We managed to pull the barbecue out that we had prior. Now I used to do all my cooking on a barbecue because I didn't have an oven. So we've pulled the barbecue out to try and cook these rolls off. We'll see how we go. In the meantime, my frozen chicken patties that I am flouring and crumbing and have some oil heating. So hopefully the buns cook, but everything is very overproofed. So we shall see, because I've still got to cook everything else off too. And I haven't used the barbecue to cook in a long time, so I'm guessing. And I'm in a fair bit of pain. My mouth is really, really sore. So, you know, it's been a great day. All right, of course, because nothing can ever be easy. So it's now Monday morning. The oven does not appear to be repairable. Like, it's a commercial oven. We bought it secondhand. It was already well used when we bought it. I looked up my history, and we bought it in July of 24, so we've had it for 2 years. In that 2-year time, it's had a beating, but it's had a beating in a very outdoor kitchen, which is where we have problems with ovens. The Camp Chef has never stopped working the whole time, but it's just the hot plates, but it's an outdoor Camp Chef thing. Anyway, the stovetop is still working, so that's great, but the actual oven we cannot get to work. The pilot light just will not work. I've steel wooled it, I've checked settings, we've done everything that we have the capacity to do. I could take it somewhere to try and be repaired, but it's an LPG converted commercial oven. So finding someone who's willing to repair it, depending on the cost, we only paid $600 for it too, depending on the cost of repairs. And it's never been exactly what I wanted. So if you've been around for the last couple of years, you'll know that the problem I didn't realise is that it's more of a finishing oven than a baking oven. So when it cooks, it has an internal thermostat, and when it hits temperature, it turns the gas off, and then when it drops 20 degrees below that optimal temperature, it turns the gas back on. So for things that require constant temperature, it's pretty impossible to bake. So even my muffins and stuff don't bake very well, but sponge cakes and that are nearly impossible. And the thermostat doesn't seem to work very well either. It's also non-insulated because it's meant to be in a commercial kitchen. So in winter, I have trouble getting it hot enough, and in summer, I have trouble keeping it low enough. So I think we're going to replace it, and I'm really frustrated because I had owed some money to Mum, and I had just worked out that I had banked it all to zero. That we were even again. And I'm going to have to borrow some cash to get an oven because I don't have a whole lot of choice. So that's life. So I'm looking at a 90 centimetre LPG cooktop and oven. They're not the easiest thing to find. Most of them are natural gas, but they do have conversion kits. And now that the kitchen is semi-enclosed, it should last longer, theoretically. But for the moment, all I've got is the old barbecue. Now, the old barbecue has been out in the paddock for the last, 12 months. We managed to get it started. Some of the plates are quite badly rusted, but we don't cook directly on the barbecue anyway. But baking in the barbecue has always been challenging. It always takes effort. There was a significant... Considering we live in the middle of nowhere, 20 acres, off-grid, we get a lot of jet planes. I'm not sure where they're coming from. There must be some sort of military field somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, and then the washing machine was spinning, and so there was some glasses that were clinging in. It was loud for a bit there. What was I saying? I cooked almost exclusively on a barbecue for a long time, and you can do it, but there is a learning curve to it, and I haven't done it in a long time. So that learning curve is a little bit lost on me, and it's going to take some time. Hopefully we'll be able to organise a gas stove fairly quickly. I had a look, and Mum and I have sort of decided we'll buy new so that we've got some warranty rather than trying to find another second-hand one. But most places don't have them in stock. They're online only, so they're delivery only, and they won't deliver out here, or special orders into stores or whatever else. So we're going to be limited on choice. So I'm going to have to make a decision and do it. But in the meantime, we will do what we have to do. So I managed to get everything cooked off on the barbecue last night. I don't think I took any photos. I'll try and take some photos. Things don't look quite the same when they're done on the barbecue. The heat distribution is just very different. But I did manage to get everything cooked off. So I've got the tray of slider rolls that I was going to turn into the ham cheese slider things today cooked, so I will do that still. But in the meantime, I still need to get some other stuff done. I'm going to get some chili oil done at the moment. Darryl's in a D&D game this morning, so once he's finished that, hopefully we'll go out and work on the new chicken pens. But for the moment, I'm going to get some chili oil done, because that's something that the kids can make on the stovetop. We don't need an oven for any of that. Eggs and noodles and that sort of thing. They really wanted some granola though. Now, I know you can dehydrate instead of cook granola, but the dehydrator that I was gifted is a 10 tray dehydrator, but it's 10 half trays, and it's really not that much space. And I really like the toasted flavour of granola, so I think I'm going to just do it in the barbecue. It's just going to be a bit of a juggle, and it just means that there'll be some browner and some less brown bits, but it'll all be edible. So I think I'll do that as well, because I'd really like some granola to take to work too. But other than that, it's put a bit of a crimp in things. I'm going to have a think about what I've got in the oven, in the freezer, and how I'm going to cook what I'm going to cook. Might defrost some stuff that can be done in the smoker and stuff, and we'll see. I do have the charcoal barbecue as well. It just needs to be relocated to be able to be used. But yeah, I don't know. It's all just, yep. And obviously, because I'm talking funny, my tongue is still really sore. My tooth, where that broken tooth is, it's created 2 big ulcer holes inside of my tongue. Super fun. First day back at school for the kids today. Back to work this week. It's all going to happen at the same time, doesn't it? Anyway. We've got chili oil. I've made it quite a few times. The recipe is on one of the videos. I'll try to remember to put it in the comments as well. I've got 500 grams of peanuts. I've got 750 mils of peanut oil heating to 175 Celsius on the stove. 500 grams of peanuts, 200 grams of sesame seeds, half a tablespoon of peppercorns. I'm going to add a tablespoon of bouillon, a generous tablespoon of bouillon. I'm going to add some, my page has turned on me, some dark soy, 2 tablespoons of that, and a tablespoon of black vinegar. Like that. Alrighty. Now, grab my spatula, just move some of that liquid around in there, and then we will pour the hot oil over it, which is going to toast those peanuts. The peanuts were already roasted and salted anyway, but toast the sesame seeds, the peanuts and everything else, and then we just let it cool and we decant it. Oh, chili flakes. I didn't put chili flakes in there. No, these are not the chili flakes that I would normally use, but we're going to give them a go because I've run out of the other ones and I still haven't done that spice order. Shock horror. So we do about 20 grams of chili flakes. These might be very mild though. Stir them in a bit so they're not on top to be scalded. And then this is going to froth up a bit, but we add our hot oil.
How does the hot oil just cook it in the bowl?
And there we go. Chili oil done. So now this will sit aside until it is a better temperature, and then we will decant it. And this amount fills 2 quart jars, which is why I do it in this quantity. And then we have that. Darryl uses this on a lot of things to add crunch, considering he's eating the low carb, sort of a keto carnivore type stuff. Like if he has something that's just meat, he regularly adds a scoop of the chili oil to add texture to whatever he's eating. So he uses it a lot for that. We use it for our instant ramen, all those things. So that is done. Just had a thought that if they're out of ramen seasoning, out of chili oil, they're probably out of ramen seasoning as well. So let's mix a batch of that up as well. Again, it's on the, I'll try and link the other video where everything's in the comments. But we want a cup of bouillon of choice. Ramen seasoning done as well. Now, if I didn't make this up, like if it had run out of this, the boys would just use bouillon on its own, which is fine. But I definitely prefer all the added flavors when I make it. So ramen seasoning done, chili oil done. Let's move on. All right, I've been going through my notes, deciding which version of the granola I'm going to make. But let's get lunch going, because I'm not sure how long it's going to take in the barbecue. Now, obviously, things got a little, because it was all done in the barbecue, so we're just going to make do. Alright, so bread is definitely overproofed, you can tell, and it's a little bit charred on the bottom, but we are going to make it work. Alrighty, we have mayo, which I'm going to slather generously because it's going to help the fact that this bread will be a bit dry because it's so overproofed. So we have mayo. We have onion jam, though I will need to open another jar, I would say. This really is something that I go through awfully quickly and is long-winded to make, but I will have to do more of it because I really, really like it. And I actually think this is my last jar. How sad is that? So that is very unfortunate. So we're just going to put a nice layer of that on here as well, which will also moisten the bread. And then I have this rather expensive ham because it was bought locally. I'm going to put a generous couple of layers because this is feeding everyone. And then I need some cheese. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it back in the pan before I put the cheese on it, otherwise I might lose the cheese when I'm trying to do it. So let's move this, spin this back around, put this back in here. Plenty of cheese. Alright. And of course I didn't look at which direction these went on, so we're just going to guess that. Alright, now I have my butter emulsion that I've just melted slowly. And we're just going to spread that garlic butter mix. There we go. I'm going to put foil over it for a bit in the barbecue and then check it and then take the foil off, and hopefully it'll be done in about 25 minutes. Right, so while that's cooking, let's get started on the granola mix. Now, like most things that I bake, I do it in ratios. The oats come in a 1.5 kilo bag, so that's what I do. 1.5 kilos of oats, right? So to that, we add a bunch of different things. Let me grab my scales in a bowl. Right, first up we're going to add some almond flour. The kids really like their granola in clusters rather than loose, and the almond flour helps to create those clusters. Now I add about 100 grams of almond flour per 500 grams of oats. So we're going to do 300 grams of almond flour. Just going to break it up. It's just been in the freezer because that's where I store it. So I'm just going to break it up. 300 grams of almond flour. All right. Then we're going to add 300 grams of coconut. So this is bulk shredded coconut. All right, so 100 grams per 500 again. We're going to add some almonds. Now, I buy slivered almonds purely for granola. I don't buy cut nuts for much else, but for granola, it's just preferable. And we're going to do about a couple of 120 grams per 500. So we want, what, 360 odd of almonds. All right. And then we do some pecans, or you could do walnuts. My kids don't like walnuts very much, so I buy pecans, again, predominantly for this recipe actually. But I do have to break them up. So normally about, I don't know, half a cup per 500 grams, so we're talking what, 60, 180 odd? Like that, and we're just going to break those up a bit. I'll just quickly, they're a soft nut, they're easy to cut up. Doesn't have to be precise, we just want to spread them out through the granola a bit. Alright, so pecans or other nuts of choice. I like to add sesame seeds to mine. I really like sesame seeds, and it also gives something small to create those clusters with again. So we'll do 120, about a quarter cup per 500 grams. And I'm also going to add chia seeds. In the same amount, good fibre, but also gives it that smaller texture as well. All right, so we're going to do that. That's all I'm going to add in the way of dry. Then I'm going to melt my wet. Okay, I'm going to... this pot here, it had a bit of peanut oil in it, but that's fine. And we're going to put... we'll put some salt in this as well. I'll put a couple of teaspoons of salt in the dry. And I'll probably put some cinnamon in that as well. Then we're going to use maple oil and sugar mix. So let me grab the maple out. Now the kids like their granola sweet, and it's just the way it is. I want them to eat it, I want them to enjoy it, so it's one of the things that I do make a little bit sweeter than I originally started making it, just to make it more appealing to them. So in saying that, we're going to use about 450 grams each of maple, sugar and oil for this batch. Now this batch ends up being about, I want to say 3 kilos of granola. It is what it is. This is how the kids like it, and it's one of those things that I make to their taste.
Mother, the teacher was talking about sonnets in class.
That's what you were named after.
Mom, I can tell you a perfect joke. What happened to the plant in the classroom?
What happened to what?
The plant in the classroom.
I don't know.
It grew square roots.
Did your teacher say that?
No, it was just a joke in class. Right, Mom? Best joke?
Best joke. You can use coconut oil if you want here. Actually, I probably have a bunch of coconut oil that needs using, come to think of it. I'm not sure. I'm just going to use olive oil this particular time. Everything has been rearranged so much that I'm having trouble finding things while we decide where the new location of everything is. All it means is that I just need to keep this at a low temperature, which is fine because we're just going to melt it all, and then the granola gets cooked at a low temperature as well. So I'm going to stick this on the stove. I might put some vanilla in it as well, actually, to just slowly dissolve that sugar up. And then I'm going to add some cinnamon, just like that. I'm just going to blend all that dry, and then we're going to mix the wet through it when it's done. All right, so here we go. Sliders, they could be cooked a little bit longer by the looks, but they'll be fine. So this is lunch, so I'm going to send some of these up to Mum as well, and everyone should be finished class shortly, and they can have some too. So this is lunch, so I've got the sugar mixture dissolving, which will go through this, and we'll do lunch. And yeah, I think, always running out of room. So some of it's not quite dissolved, but that's fine. It's not going to matter. It's going to dissolve a bit more when it's toasting anyway. And what we want is we want every little bit coated. Now it's been a while since I've made this, and I went via my notes, but I'm hoping that there was enough liquid. Looks like it just takes a bit. Holding a spoon's really not my thing. And I've just washed my hands, so. And it's going to be cooked again. But it looks like it's feeling like it's a bit of a dry spot down here. So that's what we've got. This is the granola mix. I'm going to eat my lunch and then I will start traying it up to toast it off. I don't know how long it's going to take in the barbecue. It's going to be a little bit of a juggle to get the temperature low, but we will make it work because it needs to be done. So because the kids like the granola in clusters, the goal here is to put it in a compressed layer, right? So what we do is we spread it all out like this. We're going to create a gap in the middle so that it heats more evenly, like that, and just do some compression on the bits that are there, and as the sugar and stuff dissolves and that, it all clump together, and then you let it cool like this, and then you break it up and you end up with clusters. So can only fit 2 trays at a time in the barbecue, unfortunately. So I'm just going to do 2 trays at a time. I've got like 6 of these trays, so it means I can let them cool on the tray while the next set are going and just keep on going. And this is how it ends up looking. Now, the barbecue definitely heats a little bit more unevenly. There's some toasty bits at the edges, in the middle, things like that. But this tray has mostly cooled. And as you can see, you can break it into clusters into a jar, and some pieces break up further and some don't, and that's what the kids like. So there's granola done, and 1 tray fills basically just 1 jar, so it makes a decent quantity too, which is good. So yeah, I'm not sure what is happening next. Hey everyone, it is Friday morning, so I have worked the last 2 days. My broken tooth / sore tongue is a lot better than it was, but it's still not great. The more I talk, the more it hurts, obviously. But it's a lot better than it was. I don't know where I left off last time, but we were talking about the ovens. The oven wasn't working and things like that. I don't know whether I got to the point where I discussed what we decided to do to replace it. So I'll fix this up in editing if I've already said it, but if not. So the oven that I have is a 900mm oven, and as I said, it's a commercial oven, so it's a finishing oven rather than a baking oven, which caused a lot of learning curves, but worked fine. 6 burners on top, but the burners aren't particularly powerful. They're fine, but they're not particularly powerful, so we still use the Camp Chef for things like boiling big pots of water, boiling a kettle, things like that. But it was fairly inexpensive for a second-hand 900mm commercial oven. I think I paid $600 for it. I'd have to check. And we got it in July of 2024, so we got it 2 years ago. So in regards to repairs, I'm pretty sure I said it's just not feasible. I've done some ringing around, and because it's a commercial oven, because it's LPG and all the rest of it, it's just not feasible to get someone to repair it for us, and we will keep on researching to see if we can figure it out, because, you know, backups are always good, but I don't know that we will be able to. So I went looking at all different ovens, trying to decide what I want to do. I had a look on Marketplace to see what was available secondhand, and came to the decision that I was going to buy 2 of the standard chef gas ovens. Now, they aren't installed yet. When they are, I'll put photos in. But a 900mm LPG oven and stovetop would set me back $2,500 to $3,500 at a minimum. New. They're just not a common thing, and large ovens are expensive, right? So I was looking and thinking, well, you know, if I'm going to pay that, but the warranty's good on them, then maybe that's worth it. Until I looked into the warranty, and apparently all domestic ovens only have a 2-year warranty, and only if you get them installed by an accredited installer. So that wasn't going to work for us either. And a 2-year warranty is not very much on a $3,500 stove. So there is a chef brand of gas stove. It's the old style white 54 centimetre stove. And they have a gas grill, gas oven, gas stovetop model. And they are only $800. Only, I say, you know, but. So the decision was made to purchase 2 of those to replace the 900mm oven. And then I can run just one of them if I need to just run one, which will use less gas for the size cavity, and run both if I need to run both for bulk cooking, and we will see how we go. Now, Darryl picked them up from Toowoomba. We got them home. We were putting the LPG conversion kit in, and one of them had it missing. There was no LPG conversion kit in the box. So we had to contact Harvey Norman, and they posted out the replacement of it, and it turned up at the post office while I was working. So Darryl's gone in to get that now. So once he gets that, he can finish the conversions to LPG, because they're actually currently have natural gas jets. So we need to swap the jets out for LPG. The other thing is that they don't come with gas hoses or anything like that. So we had to... Darryl's going to have to grab that in town as well. And then hopefully we will be able to get them both set up. So I'm staying positive that that will all work out. And I have pulled some mince out for dinner, and I was going to make some hamburger rolls, and we were going to have hamburgers for dinner because he's going into town. He's going to grab some lettuce and tomato to have with the hamburgers. Now, worst comes to worst, I can cook the rolls off in the barbecue, but like I did the other day, they just don't turn out anywhere near as well in the barbecue. But they're edible, so that's fine. So that is the plan for the moment. Other than that, for today, I have to get this week's video edited and out. I've got a big D&D job going, and I have some other work that needs doing, so I probably won't do much else other than mix up some hamburger buns, let them proof, and then hopefully get the new ovens in and hopefully cook them off. So I'll update you as we go through that, but yeah, I am hesitant to do too much else. Once we get that sorted, tomorrow is going to be a bit more of a kitchen heavy day. The silver side will be ready to come out and be cooked tomorrow. So we will do that in the smoker, and then I will catch up on anything else that needs to be done for the week. Now, it's grocery week, next Friday. So I need to get everything inventoried and sorted for that as well. So I need to go through the fridges and freezers and figure out what we need. And so part of the weekend will be pulling out the food for this week so that I don't count that in the food that is left for before I do groceries and stuff like that. So, you know, anyway, bit worn out. First week back at work, it was a busy week. First week back at school for the kids, and I've just been a bit tired and worn out. The lack of the oven has been, you know, anyway, it's all just... So we're working through that and everything else. So I'll check in with you. I'll mix up my standard brioche roll dough. I might have a chat to you when I'm shaping it into buns. And we'll go from there. All right, it's 3 o'clock. I've almost finished shaping all the standard brioche rolls. I've got the keto dough still to do. It's just resting for 15 minutes at the moment. Darryl isn't back yet, so that's fine. These will proof for another hour or so now that they're shaped, and then theoretically we should have ovens to cook them in. That's the idea anyway, hopefully. But for the moment, that's the plan. Good morning, everyone. it is Sunday. I didn't film at all yesterday. To be honest, on Friday night, Darryl and I had a few drinks and went to bed late, sat up chatting for a while, went to bed late, slept in a little bit in the morning, got a late start, so I didn't get much done. And then we spent the afternoon working on the chicken pens, and I just decided not to film. So I didn't get anything done in the kitchen other than food. So I don't know what we had for lunch. Oh, we had leftover hamburger buns with leftover meat patties and things like that, so like breakfast burgery bun type things for lunch. And then for dinner I just made some cheesy naans, and we had some butter chicken off the shelf reheated. So super simple couple of meals. It is now 20 to 10 in the morning. Oh, we got the ovens put in too, which I'll show you in a sec, which was part of the morning, being I couldn't do anything until the ovens were in and things like that. So it's now 20 to 10. I'm getting a bit of a late start. We've got a water delivery today. Darryl is off at church with a couple of the kids. So I had to sort out the driveway for the water delivery. And I spent a bit answering comments on YouTube and just getting a little bit of a late start. But I need to get the silver side in the smoker. So that is the first step this morning, and then I will go over the new ovens and what else we need to get done. But I have to get that silver side in the smoker. So I need to rinse it, I need to crust it, and I need to get the smoker preheating. So I'm going to go and turn the smoker on. I forget to show it every time I use it because at the moment it's in a really inconvenient spot because it needs to be protected from weather, but outdoors. So it's out the back of the house. Like you have to walk up the house, across the house, and out the back there's a little patio section that leads out to the clothesline that has a cover over it, and that's where it's sitting at the moment. Eventually it will go out here, but we need to extend the roof out to here so that there is protection out there from weather as well. It does have a cover, so I could just put it somewhere and then put the cover over it, but it's also an expensive machine, so if I can have it under cover, then that's beneficial. It is a Pit Boss Vertical Pro pellet grill. There are pros and cons to it. I purposely bought the smoke that I had prior to that was a gas one, and that was great for convenience factor, using the gas, but I used to use little wood chips in it as well because I want smoked chips sort of thing, and some of our own wood and that, and it was just a really cheap one. I think it was from like Aldi or something before we even moved out here, and I ended up burning the whole plate out in the bottom because I was using wood that was burning a little too hot. And it eventually burnt the whole element out and it was no good anymore. So then when I was looking to replace it, I decided that I wanted something slightly bigger, slightly fancier, because I like to do bulk smoking when I smoke if I can. So I got this vertical one. Mum and I went halves in it for a Christmas gift or something. And I got pellets because I thought that was more convenient consistency. So it's got an automatic pellet hopper in the back of it and everything. It's a pro one, so it had 4 trays and you know, it's great. There's a few issues. We get very humid here, so I'll put a photo of the unit up actually, but we get very humid here and sometimes the pellets can get damp even if it's not actually raining. So I can't fill the hopper all the way up because then you have issues with some of them getting clumped at the bottom and you have to empty the whole hopper, and it's really not the most convenient thing to empty or fill. There is a metal grate at the top that you have to work around to shift the pellets in the bottom, which is a bit mind-boggling that it's that inconvenient. And the slide to empty the pellets isn't actually at the bottom of where all the pellets fall, it's above the chute where they catch fire, which means that you still have some stuck in that little firebox. And then when you pull that firebox out to clean it, there's some that get scattered in amongst there. Anyway, we have had a fire in it where the firebox caught alight and then it managed to catch the whole back of the pellets in there. So we no longer put more than a couple of kilos of pellets in at a time, and I just have to watch it on a longer cook. And again, that's probably to do with our humidity and the outdoor factor and all the rest of it. It definitely heats much more from the bottom. So if you've got multiple trays of things, if you've got any solid trays on it, and then you have to rotate those trays because it definitely heats from the bottom trays in any smoker are really hard to clean because you want to put them on open grills so that it drips on the bottom. We put foil on it, but it's never much fun to clean. It really just, that drives me nuts. But that's any smoker or, you know, exposed barbecue like that. So that's neither here nor there. The only other thing is the seal on the door is not great. And I did Google about it before I bought it, but obviously I didn't catch the negatives. I didn't search specifically about the seal. And I've done some research. A lot of people said that you need to loosen off the hinges so that the door meets. I have not managed to fix it as yet, though I do forget to ask Darryl when I'm not using it. It's only when I go to use it again that I remember, like right now. I actually am using a screwdriver in the door handle that holds the door a little bit firmer closed, but the seal on it still isn't great. So I would assume that I'm going through far more pellets than I should to maintain the temperatures because of that seal. It also means that you set the temperature on the grill, and I don't know where the thermostat is on that, but the temperature that you set on the grill, like if I set it at 140 or whatever, my probes that go into the meat that have an ambient temperature on the end are registering much lower than that, and I think that's because there's heat escaping out the door. So there's a little bit of finagling with it. It was worth the money, but it does need some troubleshooting, which is like, you sit there and you go, was it worth the money if you got to troubleshoot it? I don't know. And so long as I buy the pellets from Costco, then we're all good. The Costco pellets cost about $35 for a 20 kilo bag. I think that's the size of the bag. Whereas pellets from somewhere like a Bunnings will cost you like $35 for a 5 kilo bag. That is not cost effective in the slightest. And it does, I do sit there and go, we've got so much wood on the property that a smoker that uses wood would be better, but they're not common because the wood burns hotter. Whereas you're only burning these like a few little pellets in a little firebox at any one time. So anyway, I'm happy with it, but I will think about it. Like if this one dies, which hopefully it won't for a long time, but if, I don't know if I'd buy another pellet smoker. I do have a charcoal cast iron smoker as well, that like barbecue smoker type thing that Mum bought me ages ago, and I haven't gotten very good with it because again it was having to have it located in such a way that it was protected without being and also accessible, and that hasn't been something we've been able to do. So once this roof is, though, it can go out here as well, and then I can have a bit more of a play with it and figure that out, because I could buy charcoal chunks, but I could also use some of our timber in that as well on top, because it's got cast iron grills and everything, so it's not going to burn through them. So we're going to give it a go. But first up, I need to get the silver side out of the fridge. All right, we've got our silver side here. Some people will soak it in cold water for a few hours after brining. I don't do that because we kind of like our meat salty, so it doesn't really worry me. So this is the brined silver side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to give it a quick rinse and a quick pat down. This will get poured out in the bushes somewhere. But I'm going to give this a quick rinse and a quick pat down with paper towel so it's drier. Ideally, you probably then put it in the fridge to create a bit of a pellet. We're not going to do any of that today. We're just going to cook it. So once it's patted dry, I'm going to mix up my pastrami rub. I'm going to let it sit in the time it takes me to mix up the pastrami rub, and then we're just going to rub it and we're going to get it in the smoker. Now, I'm not a cilantro fan. Cilantro, however it's pronounced. I do not like it as a garnish or in my Thai dishes or anything. I do not like the flavour. I get the soapy factor. Coriander, however, in this brine, is so good. There's such a difference between the seeds versus the leaves, and that the flavor, the smell, everything is so different. So if you don't like coriander or you don't like cilantro, definitely try it in a brine because it works really well, because it's in the rub as well. So what we need to do is we need some pepper, which I ground up a whole bunch extra the other day when I was doing pepper, I thought, but I have two of these. There it is. Still haven't figured out exactly the best way to do this part of the bench, but we're getting there. So we have no ground pepper. I thought I did. So I've got whole peppercorns. I need to grind some up. Just a minute. All right. We have what we call in this house a whizzy cup because children. And I have whole black peppercorns. So I will do some ground to go into my little salt pig, and we'll have some whole as well. So it's similar to like a Ninja. Mine's a Tri-Best, but it's similar to like a Ninja. Tri-Best changed their branding, the shape of their blenders a while back, and we had one of the old ones, and the old ones were going on clearance for like 70% off. So I actually bought 3 of them, I think, at the time, and they're in the cupboard, which means that all the Wizzy cups and everything else that fit them, I've got 3 different bases, so that if one dies, I've got extras. So we use these Tri-Best brand. And there's different size cups and stuff, so the kids will make smoothies and stuff using them as well, individual ones. So we've got some cracked peppercorns. Now, I did mean to put some focaccia dough on last night, and I forgot. And my starter was perfect to do it last night, and it has fallen since then, so I might do a starter yeasted, same day sort of a dough. Try and get a focaccia out of it, overproof it, and refeed my starter. We also have heaps of eggs, so that's the other thing I really need to do something with, is the eggs. So I actually thought I should make some pasta, but the kids would also like some ice cream for the Ninja Creamy. They've finished all the tubs that I had pre-made, so we will do that as well. So we're just going to create the crust on this. This is not something I do all the time. I think that's one of the things. A lot of these things that I make, we love them, but they're not always something I have the stuff to make all the time with. So when I don't make it all the time, I also have been sticking my hands straight in this rub, so I'll need to store it in the freezer. But we got a nice crust patted onto that, so that will do. Got my Inkbird probe, so I will throw that straight in this thick meaty part there, and that'll give me an ambient temperature of the smoker as well as the temperature internally of the meat. And I'll just go and throw this in the smoker, and then we will see how we go. So it's in the smoker. I set the smoker to 125, 110 to 120 Celsius, I suppose, which is about the 250 mark of Fahrenheit. I will assess it as I go. Sometimes I bump the temperature up, as I said, because of the ambient temperature versus the actual smoker temperature. So the probes have a Wi-Fi app, a Bluetooth app as well, so I can check the ambient temperature on the probes as well as what the temperature is sitting at on the thermostat for the smoker, and I can juggle it accordingly. It takes as long as it takes. We want to get it to an internal temperature of, I don't remember, I will look it up. So that's in the smoker, that's done. Now I'm going to quickly mix up the bread dough, and I did just find that there is so Recipe 10 Eats has a bunch of recipes that are quite neat. I was looking for the ratios for like a same day focaccia, and I was just going to juggle it with some of my sourdough starter and stuff, but she has what she calls a quick and dirty focaccia, which is a 93% hydration dough that you basically just mix, don't touch, and then you pour into the pan. We might give that a go, but I will still adapt it slightly because I'm going to use that starter in it, and I might make 2 batches of it. So it doesn't need kneading, or an SD card ran out of room. I mustn't have deleted stuff when I last edited. So yeah, so we're going to give that a go. I might make 2 batches of it in the oven, to go in the oven, because that would be good sandwich bread for tomorrow as well. But it might be good for dinner tonight. I was going to do some roast potatoes and stuff too to go with the corned beef, but we will see how we go. So I'm going to mix that dough up first, and I'm just going to, so she's got 300 grams of bread, flour, 3.5 grams of instant yeast, 4.5 grams of cooking salt, and 280 mils of very warm water. So I might do 2 batches of that, and I'll have about 50 grams of starter in each. So I'll take 25 mils off the water and 25 grams off the flour, because my starter is 50-50. And we will just do that. I'll mix up 2 of them, I think. And I might mix them up in 2 different vessels just to have a look at it, because that gives me an idea of how it works. Next time if it works really well, next time I could potentially put it in one vessel and then cut, like, you know, put half in each tray to cook. But we're going to stick to the recipe the first time, sort of, as much as I do anyway, because that's what I find best. If I find a recipe I want to try, I do it somewhat close to the recipe as written, and then I make it adaptations after that. So we will do that. I'm going to mix that up, and then I'll decide what I'm doing next. Water is going to be about an hour. I just got a message saying that he'll be here in about an hour, so I just need to figure out what I want to do in that amount of time. And it's a bit like that today. Anyway, let's mix up this dough. So you can see my starter lifted to here, but it's fallen again to sort of here. So it's not at peak, but I need to use it to be able to feed it again. So we will just put some in each one, and we'll make it work, along with the normal yeast. So not that my camera was in the greatest position for that, but that's fine. All right, we've got 2 mixed up. Now, in her recipe, she states that it's a bit like muffin batter rather than a dough. Now, I might just be really used to handling doughs, but this is definitely still dough-like. So anyway, it's all mixed up. We've got a chicken on the patio. And now I'm going to get covers. Now, I finally got some more of the thingy covers, but they're inside. I need to grab them. Actually bought 3 different sizes because I couldn't remember which sizes worked for what last time. And you know what? I may have ended up with not one that's right for this size bowl. This one will probably fit this bowl. Yeah, that one's fine. But this bowl is wider. Now, I did buy XXL ones because I use these for the baking trays when I need to. And I bought 2 different ones by the looks of it, but they both seem to be the same size. And now there was lots of discussion, which is a bit oversized for this bowl, but that's fine. We just try and be gentle with them and we reuse them. They're doing their thing. What was there? Oh, there was lots of discussion in the most recent video about the buckets and the dirty factor of the buckets, and there was discussion about the fact that these would probably work quite well over the top. I think this is what I'll use for storage ones. However, my day-to-day ones, the ones that are sitting here, like I have baker's flour and plain flour here, and they're stacked on top of each other because that puts them at a good height for me to scoop straight out of. But it means that I swap them regularly, depending what I'm doing. And I'd imagine that these would get torn by having them stacked on top of each other. But I also just don't know how I feel about having to peel this off to use the... I know it seems silly, but I don't know how I feel about sitting on a bucket that's sitting here. I don't know. So we'll see. Storage-wise, though, I think that would be great. Though someone did suggest that I could do fabric ones that I created elasticized. And see, I'd be more inclined for that than something like this. So we'll see. I also grabbed some of the Kmart containers that we've been talking about. So this is the IKEA jars that they no longer make. They are a bit bigger. I think they're a 3 litre something. These are a 2.5 or 2.4. But they will work well. They've got the flat lids. They've got the seals in the lids, which means that they're easy to clean and things like that. I have found that the seals aren't quite as reliable as the IKEA ones, and that is what I liked about the IKEA ones, because you could buy just the lids on their own. But I think these will work quite well. There's a lot less things to get dirty, a lot less things to get damaged, to go rusty, things like that. So that will work. I need to print myself up some labels, but for the moment I'm just using a Nico. So that's the comparison between the two for anyone who is interested, like me. So I bought half a dozen of these and I had half a dozen of these, and we will see how many I need. I still do like the half-gallon jars with pouring lids for certain things, or for spices where I can vacuum seal the lids on them and things like that. But I like to be able to scoop out of certain things. So like the salt one, I like to be able to scoop my salt pig into the salt jar, which probably isn't the most efficient thing. I probably should be using a scoop inside it or something. But being able to scoop out of the jar is important in some things, other things less so. This is they're hot chocolate powder, so it's neither here nor there. They use a tablespoon measure anyway. But yeah, that's the comparison for anyone else who was curious. I used to scoop my flour into like one of the big jars, and then that way the bucket could have something plastic over it all the time and be covered. But I found that that really doesn't work in the quantities of bread that I make regularly. Like I'm using sometimes 2 kilos of flour in one, or 2.5 kilos of flour in one batch of like double batch of brioche dough or whatever. And so I basically was having to refill that jar every time I wanted to use it anyway. So it's much easier to use it straight out of the tub. But yes, there's that balance between convenience and still maintaining efficiency and things like that. It's like I get mentioned a lot about putting covers over the shelves and stuff, because that would stop a lot of the dust in the shelves, and I totally agree. That would be the most practical thing to do. However, the way my brain works is such that I really like things on display. I really like being able to see what I've got. And I work much better in being able to assess what I need to make, what I need to do, what I've got the capacity to make and do if things are visible. Now, I know that's, whatever's in me. I've never gone looking for, any sort of diagnosis, but we all understand that my brain is a little bit odd. So whatever it is, I like to have things on display. It does mean that I'm a bit cluttered and a little bit messy, but it's how I work, and it's how I work the most efficiently. So let's have a look at what my probe is saying the ambient temperature is, except apparently it's offline. I need to get closer to it perhaps. See what the probe is in comparison to the smoker temperature. We'll do that as the next thing. I'll move this dough out of the way, and then let's have a look at the new ovens. All right, so the smoker's saying 110 and the external probe is saying 102. So I'm going to bump that up just slightly, bump the smoker up just slightly so that we can hit about the 110 mark on the ambient. Now, I did quickly check. It is taken to the same as brisket and things like that. So we're going to take it to stall, and then at stall we will wrap it with some stock or something in the bottom, and then take it to the, what is it? It's 95, 98 or something internal, 203 or something Fahrenheit, which is the store point. Now, normally you would then let it rest and you'd slice it the next day. That's not going to happen. We'll be eating it for dinner, but that's fine. We will let it rest as long as I have between when it's finished and when we eat it. So, all right, I moved this bread. Just a minute. Now, I already had the proofing box warming up to 24 ambient, so that's where I've put that dough for the moment, and we will see how long it takes. It is 10 to 11, so we'll give it an hour and a half, and I'll have a look at what it looks like. So, new ovens. These are the Chef 54 centimetre ovens. I'll show you the front of them as well in a sec. So we got 2 of them. They have the 4 burners. They're gas. The size of the tops of them is a little... Probably only, like if I've got a cast iron pan, I have to use a cast iron pan. I have to use it on each stovetop, and only really these ones are particularly useful outside of that, because the cast iron pans are just large, and that's just the way it's going to be. So we have 2 of them. We've leveled them side by side, and they are a lot shallower than the commercial oven. So we will probably build some sort of a thing that goes behind here that the gas bottles sit on, that will have a shelf, because the commercial oven had a bit of a shelf along the top that I used to use to put some trays on to stay warm and things like that. It's going to be a challenge to keep this clean, I think. Going to have to try really hard every night to give it a good wipe down, though I do believe that there is like covers that I can buy for this. to go on the thing, but I did notice that like there's little flakes of black all over it at the moment, and that was purely me moving the cast iron pans, because whilst we clean and season the tops of them, we're not as big on doing the outside of it. I only do that probably twice a year, so there's bits of excess iron that flakes off the outsides of them, and that's discoloring because this is white top. They did have stainless steel models, but they were slightly more expensive and they were more difficult to obtain. These were in stock, on sale and available, so that's what I did. All right, so we changed all the gas burners to LPG burners. It was very simple. The burners are in the middle there, so the jets are in the middle in there, and they were natural gas. So we did the LPG conversion on them, and yeah, so this is what the front of them looks like. Each of them has a grill, which is kind of neat. Now, I wasn't keen on the grill until I discovered that this particular model has a gas grill as well. So that is really neat. The oven capacity is, I did look at the ones without the grill thinking, well, maybe we'd need to because of the oven capacity, but realistically it wasn't going to make much difference. Without this, maybe you could get 3 racks in there and 3 things cooking, but honestly, being a gas oven, all the heat comes from the bottom. It really wasn't going to be that much better, and these were in stock and on sale, and honestly that's the biggest selling point, isn't it? So we've got the 2 racks in there. They're set up in sort of a good spot that I can put 2 trays in there. Now the stainless steel trays, the ones that I have been accumulating from Amazon, some viewers have sent me them and I have bought some. I own like 8 of them at the moment. They fit. The larger black baking trays that I used to use do not, because they are for a commercial oven, which is fine. It just means I use those stainless steel ones. I did have to rotate. I did bread buns and I did have to rotate the 2 trays to make them brown evenly, but it worked all right. And with 2 oven cavities, it means I can have 4 trays going at a time, which I could do with the commercial oven, except that I had to have 2 racks in and it caused some problems, which were just more like rotational problems, so same thing. But it does mean that theoretically I will use less gas if I'm only making a small batch, because I only need to run 1 oven. So pros and cons, it's a little bit wider in the 2 models, end up being a little bit wider than the 1 commercial oven, but we had the space to be able to do it. They are white, which is not ideal in this situation, but we will make do. And yeah, this is what we ended up with. So these 2 chef ovens side by side. I think it'll take a little bit of a learning curve, as most things do, but I think it will work well. I like the fact, well, most of it came down to price. I couldn't find anything secondhand locally that was worth purchasing. We didn't want to go another finishing oven because that caused all sorts of problems, having the finishing oven. These don't have a standing pilot light, which is pros and cons. You light it as you go, but it has an ignition button, which the other one didn't. We used to have to light the pilot light manually. But yeah, cost was the big thing. These were on sale. They were $829 each, but they had $60 off at Harvey Norman. I did them in 2 transactions to get that $60 off each one. Whereas a 900mm oven was $2.5 to $3.5 grand, which I think I mentioned previously. So I also like the fact that if one of these happened to cark it, which you want to hope it doesn't, and you want to, then you can replace. You've still got one working. That's the idea. The other thing being that, as I discussed before, domestic ovens only have a 2-year warranty, only if you get them installed by a technician. Now, we didn't get them installed by a technician, obviously, and so the warranty is void, but it makes you think that you would get at least 2 years out of an oven without any problems. So if you're looking at a $2.5, $3.5 grand oven over 2 years, the cost per day on that is huge. Whereas these, each oven at $800 odd over 2 years, you're talking $1 a day. That's how I'm trying to look at it anyway. Don't have a choice, need ovens, and this seemed to be the best option. I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but this is what we did. It was still an expense that I didn't really have, but we made it work. And we will just, we will make it work. All right, last thing, well, next thing I need to do is use up some of these eggs. So I was going to make some pasta dough because I could make some lasagnas. We've got the bolognese pre-made, or I could actually use, I was thinking I could use some of that sausage mince to create some lasagna, but either way it can be frozen, the pasta can be frozen. So we need to use some eggs up, so I thought I could do that. The kids also wanted some ice cream for the Ninja Creamy, and I thought I could make some custard-based ice cream for them, some nice simple stuff for them as well. So that is the next plan. All right, so let's make some pasta dough. I'm just going to make standard pasta dough, Thermomix based pasta dough. Sourdough pasta is really delicious, but obviously I could have used that starter. I didn't think about it. I could have used that starter in the pasta, but it's neither here nor there because we're just making it and we're going to freeze it, which means it's, anyway. So we want 5 eggs. This is what the eggs look like at the moment. In the comments, there was a discussion about the color of the egg yolks. Now, egg yolk color is based on what the chickens eat, basically. So you can get some really dark colored egg yolks in the supermarket because they feed them things with turmeric and that sort of stuff in to help with the color of the egg yolks. Basically it's diversity of diet. So the reason the chickens are healthy, are laying 2 dozen eggs at this time of year and all the rest of it is a diversity of diet. They get heaps of scraps. They get high quality grain. They get plenty of grit. Pens are large enough that they get some free ranging to a degree, and of course we provide them with stuff to free range through as well, and that's what creates the color of the yolks more than anything else. It's just a diversity of diet and healthy chickens, but the supermarket ones can be falsely colored as well, and you wouldn't know. So that's how it is. So we got 500 grams of flour, and then we've got 5 eggs. Now I probably could reduce the eggs a little bit in mine because my eggs are quite large, but that said it was 250 grams of eggs. So that's within the scope of the weight of the eggs we want. And then we want 2.5 tablespoons of, I hit the wrong button. So we've got 5 eggs and we want 2.5 tablespoons of olive oil to go in there as well, which we will go by approximate weight of, say, 50 grams. And then we're going to put the lid on it and we're going to knead it for 3 minutes. Once it's just done the kneading, you get your crumbles. So then it is probably a little bit wetter than it needs to be. As I said, my eggs were a bit large, but it's that's what it happens to. Then we're going to pat it into 2 different balls, and we're just going to start loading up a Ziploc bag with the things, because I might do. It's going to be time consuming to roll it out, which is always the thing, but I also want to use eggs up, and this is a good way to use some eggs up. So we've got, and realistically that's only like 750 grams of pasta dough, so it's only like 1 meal worth of pasta. So we will just split this roughly in half like that, and we will just roughly pat it into a ball, and then it will rest. It will hydrate that last bit, and then we will sort out rolling it as well. But it can sit in the fridge for a day if need be, and then you just let it come to room temperature before trying to roll it out. So I might do another 3 batches all up, maybe. I may regret that when it comes time to roll it out, but that's life. And the water's just turned up, which is why the dog's going off. So we'll keep on going with that. All right, these are supposed to go into fairly small tins because it's small batches of dough. And I don't really have the right metal tin to suit that. So I think I'm going to put them both in this. It might end up a bit taller. It's probably a little overproofed as well because I left the house and then forgot that I had it working. So we shall see how well it does its next little puff up. But basically we're going to just put it in this pan. Now I'm doing as per the instructions because, you know, I said I try and do the instructions, but it's not working real well. So I'm just going to do what I would normally do. Put the other half in as well. A little bit of oil on top. We'll spread it into the gaps and then we'll let it sit again for another little bit and see if it'll puff up and fill that space, and then we'll assess. Right, it's been about 45 minutes. It looks very good. Now we're going to just do a bit of a dimple, but it says not to be too aggressive with it because of the type of dough it is. So we're just going to dimple it gently like that and then throw it in the preheated oven. Now I'm not going to put any flavorings or anything on this. I really like it with flake salt, but last time I did flake salt, one of the boys complained it was too salty. So I'm just going to add salt when I eat it. So I'm just going to put it in the oven like this. I think it said 25 minutes at 220. All right, so this is it cooked. I'm going to put it onto a rack so it stays crispy and we'll let it cool and then we'll cut it open later and we'll see what it's like on the inside. Because it ended up with more dough in the one tray than probably supposed to, but we'll see how it goes. I still need to make the custards for the creamy, which I will do, but I'm going to charge my camera first. Some bone in it. It's hit stall, so it's hit the 65 Celsius, so now we're going to wrap it in paper, so it needs to go on the paper, not on the tray, on the paper. Yeah.
How perfect.
So now the bark is set. It's doesn't come off when you touch it, which is what we did initially, and so now we're just going to wrap it. You can add moisture at this point if you want by putting it in a tray with some stock or water or whatever, but I find that generally speaking wrapping it is enough to hold the moisture in. So the mic's still in there. The probe's still in there, and now we need to bring it up to the 95-ish. All right, ice cream. We're going super simple today, and making a few tubs of just basic ice cream. So what I'm going to do is I've got 2 UHTs of milk here. We're going to try them on UHT milk, see what the kids think of that. And I'm going to make my basic custard base for ice cream, and then I'm going to flavor them in the tubs. Now with the Ninja Creamy, there's a few caveats for making the ice cream. You can't have it too fatty, or when you churn it, it has a real odd texture. So I'm not going to use any cream. I'm going to use straight milk. The other thing is that normally with ice cream custards, you use egg yolks. And honestly, it's being churned in the Ninja Creamy, so even if there's, because the biggest problem with egg whites is that sometimes you get stringing of egg whites in the custard mixture, and I'm not straining it because I'm going to do it in the Thermomix and all that. I'm still going to just use whole eggs because I don't have anything to do with the egg whites at the moment, and I just don't want to. It's going to be churned, so it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So we're going to do our basic recipe, and all I'm going to do is cook it like a custard. So I've got the Thermomix, it's here and clean. I've got room temperature eggs, which is preferred. And I'm going to use 5 eggs per batch. I'm going to use, I'm not sure how many tubs it'll fill, but you don't have to have full tubs. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go with a full litre of milk, right? Because that way it just means I don't have any excess for anything. So let's go with a full litre. We've got room temperature UHT milk, which is good as well. We're going to add 5 eggs. And we're just going to throw in the whole egg. So 5 eggs in there. We're going to add about 200 grams of sugar for that quantity, a pinch of salt, and then I'm going to add vanilla bean paste. Even if I flavour these, to me, vanilla bean still works as a base flavour. And that's all I'm going to do. Now I'm just going to cook that at 90 degrees for about the 8-minute mark on speed 3. And then we will have a cooked vanilla custard base. It's not going to thicken very much. I was going to add some gelatin to it actually, because that helps with the texture when you're processing it. But I think I need my new gelatin, which is inside, so I think it's inside, so I will go and grab that. Alright, so I've got a second batch going, which is why the camera is shaking a little bit. Sonnet washed some of the jugs for me. So the max fill line is the top of the line there, scoopable max fill. So we're going to leave a little bit of a gap because we're going to flavour these as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour, this is the first batch. So it's a little over 2 containers worth, which is fine. And as it sets, it's getting a little bit clumpy, which again is fine because it's going to be blended. So we got those two. This one is nearly done. And we'll pour that in as well. And then I've got some freeze-dried strawberries. I've got some pistachio. I've got some coffee syrup. We can leave some plain vanilla. We can flavour some with some of the macromike protein powders if that's what we want. So yeah, there's a variety of things. We'll just figure it out as we go. But in regards to, so like if we did strawberry, freeze-dried strawberry, we can do say 2 tablespoons of that. It's pretty strong because it's freeze-dried strawberries, so we'll give a go with that. Scrape that one down. And put a lid on that one.
He ran away again.
So, strawberry. This one we will do pistachio. And I'll just do 3 big spoonfuls of it, because that still brings it under the max fill line. Now, this would be far too challenging to blend by hand, so clean the immersion blender. That one, what have we got next? Second batch. Hasn't thickened up as much as the first one, but it also hasn't been sitting as long. As you can see, there's a few lumps in it. As I said, it's not an issue because it's going to be reblended by the creamy, and most of those are just egg lumps. And you're not going to taste it when it's mixed in the creamy. So yeah, we got 5 out of those 2 batches. That's a pretty good, it was 10 eggs, so there's 2 eggs per tub. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so we did a pistachio. We were going to do a coffee one. I'm not real sure how much coffee should go. 50 mils of concentrate to 250 mils of, I'm just going to put the end of the bottle in there. Now, because some of these aren't all the way full too, it works as well because it means that the kids can actually make 2 different flavours to share between the 5 of them. All right, and then I'm going to do the chocolate one, and I'm going to use the hot chocolate mix that I make them in that one. Just going to add 2 tablespoons of that, and then I'm going to leave the other one as vanilla. They can add, I don't have anything really that they can use as mix-ins at the moment. They add chocolate chips if they want, or they can add sprinkles and that sort of thing. But when I do the shopping next, I will buy them. Oreos, like I always do, either Coles or Woolworths has Oreos half price every time I do the shopping because they rotate it. So I normally buy a dozen packs and they just use 1 packet per night as a treat. So we got chocolate and vanilla, and I will ask Sonnet if she wants me to make any more up because she will have to wash more jugs if she does. But there we've got those 5 done. So, all right, so the smoker just isn't working. It is, but it isn't. So we're going to do the faux packet pasta type stuff in the Thermomix that the kids like. I've got the kettle boiling. I don't have any zucchini. Normally I would put shredded zucchini, but I do have frozen broccoli. So we're going to put the same amount of broccoli in that I would normally do of the zucchini. The dogs are going off the nuts because someone drove past. So we're going to do a double batch. I'm pretty sure a double batch fits in here. We're going to do 200 grams of broccoli and we're going to grind it up to some small flakes. All right, so we're just breaking that up into small pieces for the benefit of a better tasting pasta mixture, but with some veggies in it. We're then going to add 40 grams of Parmesan. I have one of my cubes of butter garlic emulsion that I'm going to add. And then we're going to do 200 grams of milk and 500 grams of boiling water. Then we're going to scrape that down and we're going to cook that up to 100 degrees. And then we'll add the pasta and cook further. So we're going to scrape it down, turn it into a bit of a sauce, 100 degrees for about 4 minutes on like speed 3.5, just so that everything comes up to that boiling temperature before we add the pasta. Now I've got the protein pasta because I find that if you use certain shapes of pasta in the Thermomix for this sort of dish, it ends up falling apart. It's really, really gluggy. We've got that knob of garlic butter in there, so it's not liking it. The protein pasta, because it's a more toothsome pasta, tends to last better in this. So we do 170 grams of pasta in this thing, so about half a box of this. They can always make a second batch if they need to, but I'm going to cut up some bread as well, so we should have a look at that, what that bread looks like too. I didn't get to rolling out the pasta. I'm going to stick it in the fridge and do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll pull some bolognese out and we can make some lasagna with it fresh or something. But this is what the bread ended up looking like. Let me find a knife. All right, so this is what the quick focaccia ended up looking like. Chewy and spongy like focaccia generally is. So all I'm going to do if they're having it with this pasta is I might just cut it into stick type thing like that. The lid for it is just there, or it was just on the thing. So we might just do this as like breadstick type things. It probably isn't quite as fluffy as I would have expected, but I think it'll be quite tasty. And Darryl changed the jets in the grill for me today, so I could try grilling this as well. If you want to grab out some more garlic butter and then...
Yeah.
And then we could grill this and they could have some breadsticks with the pasta. Alright, so this finally hit internal temperature and totally should rest for at least, half an hour, if not more. But it is 8:10 and this was supposed to be dinner. So the kids had the pasta, though I don't think I showed once it was cooked or the bread because it was served up to them. But this is what, spraying meat juices everywhere. This is what the meat has ended up looking like. As I said, it should rest, but we're not going to. We're just going to cut into it. And so we're just going to slice into it and we're going to eat it regardless of resting time. Though I will...
It's going to rest in my belly.
Wrap the excess to go. And it looks like the brine went all the way through. We got pink all the way through. And it's really, really hot, but fall apart. Just sort of breaking apart. So that was, you know, the all-day pastrami that, you know, whatever. That's dinner. And I'll finish the other stuff tomorrow. Alright, it is Monday morning. It is windy and odd, but anyway. I'm just charging my iPad to do my inventory, and when I was going through the freezer the other night, I found that I had half a bag of this diced bacon bits left in the freezer that I pulled out, and I'm going to fry this up to use in a frittata and other things. So I'm just going to put this on low on the stove in the cast iron. I need to find a rack or something to go over the top of it so it doesn't spit everywhere. And there's more than I thought there was. I probably should have done it in a bigger container, but it's fine. And we're just going to fry this off slowly. I might slice some onions up and caramelize some onions as well, because they'll be good in the bottom of a frittata. And then figure out what else I'm going to do. I haven't finished my coffee yet. As I said, I've got the iPad charging to do the inventory, so we're scoping out what the day's going to look like. I did notice that we're out of instant porridge, so the boys made some porridge and they didn't finish it. I think they overdid the chocolate. So I have just added some more oats, some more water and some protein powder. I'm going to grind some oats up into a bit of a flour, I think, or I might just add plain flour to it as well, and a few eggs, and turn this into just like breakfast cookie type things that they can eat later rather than refrigerating it, because they're not very good at reheating it. But that's a prompt that they need more instant porridge, because at this time of the month there's not a lot of breakfast foods, so that's when they rely more heavily on the instant porridge. Alright, we've got about a cup of flour and I'll try 3 eggs. And we'll see what this does. I wonder if I add more oats to it rather than more flour. Baking powder and a dash of salt. And they're looking at chocolate chips and nuts and stuff, and I sat there and went, do you know what would work? The granola, because it's already got nuts and cinnamon, some extra sweetness, some maple syrup. And we'll break that up in here. We'll probably add another half a cup of flour. Scoop these out like that, and they will be what they will be, but I think the kids will enjoy them regardless. There was already sugar added to the porridge, and then there's sweetener in the protein powder as well, and then there's sweetness in the granola. So I don't know how much these are going to spread, and I might regret putting them this close together, so I might cook one tray first and then see if I need to spread them out a bit more. So I'm just going to put them in, say I'm going to preheat the oven to about 180, put them in for about 15 minutes and we'll see how they go. In the meantime, let's slice some onions up. I did notice in the stuff that I brought home from Mum's, you know how I was looking for that multi-chopper which I didn't find. I did find that she had a guillotine though, but I don't know if I'm really want to pull that out and go through that effort, because it doesn't need to be perfectly cut, so this will be fine. I'm not going to do too many of them anyway. I'm going to have to do a batch of onion jam again because I'm completely out, but I'm not doing that before I go shopping because, well, for a start, I've only got a few kilos of onions left from this shopping trip, so I'll have to buy another bag. but I've got too much to get done anyway to do onion jam. It just, because it's an all day thing having to cook it. So I'm just gonna cut up, say, half a dozen onions so that I can caramelize these off, mix them with the bacon so that we've got that as a base for frittata, not just for today but potentially for the next couple of days. Use up more eggs, easy breakfasty, brunchy, lunchy meals. And if I'm going to be effort of cooking all this bacon up, I may as well cook it all up and just get it done, sort of thing. And I'm out here anyway at the moment, waiting for my iPad to charge. So, alright, so I cooked off the bacon to as crispy as this style of bacon will get. Left all the fond in the bottom. I did get pointed out that I used schmaltz and fond interchangeably the other day. That is not correct. Schmaltz is chicken fat, and I wouldn't have even thought about it. I wouldn't have even been thinking. Fond is, well, normally used for beef, I suppose. It'd be used for pork too, I'm not sure, but schmaltz is generally chicken bits and fat. So anyway, we're going to add a little bit of ghee to this to help deglaze that pan. Looks like the biscuits don't spread, which makes sense when I think about it because there's next to no fat in them. There's no butter, no oil, nothing in them, which is possibly something I could have added, but I didn't. So that's fine. That just means that these biscuits need to be, if I'm going to spread them out, I'll put them in and I will wet my fingers and I'll spread them out into little discs just to compare the two textures when it's cooked, because if they cook nicely in these balls, then that's fine too. I just have to know how long they're going to take to cook and that sort of thing. So we will spread these ones. The other ones look pretty cooked, but it's really hard to tell because they're in big balls. Like, they don't change texture very much. So I'll just dampen my fingers and spread these out into little disky things. Have a look-see as to how these ones bake up. So this is what the round ones turned out like. Just a cakey, sort of a dense oat cookie. I think they'll be better flat, but we'll try them on the boys when they get out of class. So everyone's tasted them. No one's unhappy with them. The leading comment is that they taste like breakfast in a biscuit, as in they're not a sweet biscuit. They're sweet. They're not savoury either, but they're a dense, sort of a hearty breakfast biscuit. I think that if I have the occasion to do it again, which I probably will because the kids forever make porridge and don't finish it, I'd probably add some oil, so I'd probably add some fat. I'd probably add more of the almond protein powder so that I could back off a little bit on the flour, or grind some oats into oat flour, perhaps. Or I was thinking, just, while I'm standing here caramelizing onions and rotating trays in the oven, that I need to make that instant oat mix. And I'm wondering if that instant oat mix could be adapted to make breakfast cookies. Like, if they could just add a cup of that instant oat mix with an egg and a little bit of oil and then shape it into cookies for breakfast, they could have it like that instead of as instant oats as a change, because the kids get bored with the same thing all the time, which I understand. As an adult, you just deal with it, but kids are a little less tolerant. So imagine if they could turn their instant oats into a cookie instead of just as instant oats. So I don't know, I might have to make up a couple of batches of instant oat mix in a couple of different flavours, and give that a go and see how that equates. But anyway, the kids will eat these. They're not going to be raving about them, but they're very tolerable. Alright, so frittatas for lunch today. I've got about 18 eggs in here. I did lose count. I think it's about 18 eggs. And I'm hoping that my calculations are right to do 2 pie trays full of it. So what I do is, because we've been dairy free for a really long time, I'm sticking to what I know. I use an entire tin of coconut cream with the dozen to 18 to 2 dozen eggs, however, whatever size I'm doing, and give that a really good mix. Probably could use my Thermomix for that, but I'll grit my teeth and get it done. Definitely should have pulled the Thermomix out of this one, but oh well. Live and learn. I haven't made one of these in a long time. Didn't realise how hard it would be for me to do it these days. Alright, I'm going to add sort of... We've got all this bacon and onion, so I don't want to add too much salt. So I'm just going to add a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add black pepper from the other day. A good teaspoon of that as well. And then I might add some garlic powder as well, because I didn't end up putting any garlic in the... I should have put some of those garlic butter emulsions in when I was caramelizing the onions. I didn't think about it, so I'll put some garlic powder. Now normally I would wilt off like silver beet or spinach or something to go in these as well, and that is partly why I really want to get at least greens growing consistently. I'm still working on the let pot. I will update you with that when I get... I think I mentioned I made an error. I filled it all up, I put seeds in it, and then I forgot to plug the thing in. And in the weather that we've had, no go. So I need to redo that one. But normally I would wilt some greens or something as well. And then all I generally do is I grab my pie plates and I grab my mix. Of greens, onions, bacon, ham, chicken, whatever it is that I'm using. And I use a good cup of it, and I just spread it all over the bottom of the pan like that. This would work in the savoury scrolls too. It's probably something I should cook up more often and have available. Can't can it because it's got the bacon in it, but I can the caramelised onions. Basically that's what I do. Then I mix the egg mix through and bake it. Again, in summer I would put cherry tomatoes on top. I don't have any cherry tomatoes at the moment, wrong season, and we're not growing them at the moment. But it can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be, and it is just another way to consume eggs. You can put chili oil on it when it's served, could put cowboy candy in the egg mix, you could do any sort of flavouring you want. And because there is cream in it, because it's not, you could put cheese in it too. We've never put cheese in it before because we were dairy free. Actually, I might put a sprinkle of cheese in it. Because there's the milk in it, it will lift and fall. So you don't want to overfill your tins either. So because I can, I'll just put a handful and a half, I suppose, of grated cheese, which will just add to the texture as well. But yes, I haven't made one of these in a long time, and we've always been dairy free, and it's the coconut cream, but that's just convenient to be able to use a whole tin of coconut cream, so I'll continue to do that, and we don't mind the flavour, but adding a bit of cheese will be nice too. So that's all I'm going to do, throw those in the oven. Now timing wise, I don't know in these new ovens, so we'll play it by ear, but 25 to 40 minutes. Like there's a big range there, I know, but it really just depends on the oven and the quantity of eggs in your pan, the size of your pan. These are cast iron, so they take a little bit longer to heat up, which means that your cooking time can be longer. They hold heat for longer, but they take longer to heat up. So we will see how we go. So these took about 40 minutes. I did have to rotate them top to bottom. 2 of these trays do not fit on a single rack in the oven. So I had them sort of offset in 2 different racks, and I did have to swap them because the one on top was browning a lot faster with the reflected heat from the top. There is no fan or anything in these gas ovens, so it's just going to be a little bit of a finagle. I'm going to leave them for 5 minutes because they will sweat slightly and pull away from the sides, which will make them easier to get out. I didn't grease the pan, but there was plenty of grease in the bacon and stuff, but I possibly should have given them a spray. They might stick, but that's fine. It's ceramic lined. Cast iron's pretty easy to keep clean. So I'll leave it for 5 minutes, let it sweat a little bit, pull away from the edges, and then I might just use a spatula to sort of pull it away, and then that's lunch for today. There is mayo in the fridge, there is chili oil, there's cowboy candy, so even though they're fairly plain on their own, they can do whatever they want on top of them. I do have all that pasta that needs rolling out, and I'm still working on the inventory, but yeah.
But I already read to chapter 6.
So I've just put the leftover onion and bacon in one of these 1 cup measure silicone things. I'm going to freeze it. In that size, really super quick to defrost. Throw them in a double boiler or in a Ziploc bag with some warm water or something, or just leave them out for an hour, and that will be useful for a bunch of different things. It's probably something I need to do in bulk more, but I would probably can the caramelized onions, because then I don't have to store it in the freezer. But if it's mixed with bacon, then it needs to be stored. So I don't know how I'm going to do that in the future, but I really like that idea. Even if I freeze the bacon, if I cook the bacon separately and I flash freeze it on a tray and then stick it in a bag, then it would be pre-cooked in a loose sort of a format, and I could use it like that, and then I could have the caramelized onions on the shelf. I don't know. Trying to make things a little simpler for some of the things, but also because onions do go bad in summer, we cannot store them very well, and we run out of room in the freezer for bacon. So if I get bacon cheap enough, then I like to buy it in bulk, but I don't like to store it in the freezer if I can avoid it. So for the moment, I've got this. I do want to try this in like scrolls. I think that would be really nice in scrolls with some cheese. So I might just stick it in the fridge for the moment, move it into the freezer tomorrow if I don't get to it. So it comes away from the pans fairly easily, actually. I'm just going to cut a couple of big slices and send them up to Mum so she can have them for lunch, and put one in the fridge for later. So yeah, it actually comes away fairly nice and easy. It's nice and soft and fluffy, as you can see on the inside. So that's what it looks like. Alright, so my day has hit a little bit of a snafu. Darryl has been working on the power to the kitchen, to the back wall, and one of the items that we bought isn't long enough, so we have no power in the kitchen at the moment, which is fine. We will work around it. We got too much going on at home to make the drive to go and get a cord when I'm going shopping this week anyway. We'll just make it work. So I was going to do some scroll dough, which I can't do because I don't have the KitchenAid. I can't roll out that pasta either, so I'm just going to freeze it as the mounds and hope that it defrosts okay to roll out. And I'm just going to mix up some basic bread. So my starter has risen and fallen again before I've had a chance to use it. It is really warm here at the moment, and my starter is really super healthy. The way to get around that is to make larger amounts of starter, but then I have to use it. So anyway, I also opened a new box of spatulas. So a while back, a viewer sent me some spatulas that were on my wish list, and she obviously knew me as well as I know myself and bought me multiple packs because things go missing in my house and you can never have enough spatulas. So there was 3 boxes all up. I don't know if I bought myself one and they bought me 2, or they bought me all 3. I can't remember, but I opened 1 pack. And in all this time, I've only had the 1 packet open because I left the other 2 boxes sitting on my shelf so that they wouldn't go missing. And this morning I went looking for a spatula. I couldn't find one. The dishes haven't been put away. And I decided I'm going to open a second box of them. So this is the second box. I really like these. These were the U-Taste brand. I'll try and remember to link them. They were a 4-pack and I have really liked the shape and the stability of them. So yes, I opened another packet. Anyway, so I'm just going to make some basic bread. I wasn't hugely enamored of that quick focaccia compared to like an overnight one. So, don't know. If it's as warm tomorrow as it has been today, I could do a focaccia today that will proof nice, like after it's been in the fridge all night, will work really nicely tomorrow. So we'll make these doughs slightly wet, and we'll just do some basic ones. I'm just going to do 2 containers, basic mixes, get them doubled, fridged and cooked off tomorrow for whatever purposes. And then I've got some bread for lunches if that's what it takes for work. Though I do have freezer cubes of a bunch of things in the freezer. I just have to go through them to take them to work. So I don't know, but I'm just going to make some spread. I have mostly finished my inventory, so I need to show you guys some of that. And other than that, there won't be much else going on before I end up going to my shop, I don't think, because no power in the kitchen, plus not a lot of food around anyway, and I'm got just other stuff that needs to be done. So we shall see. But for the moment, I'm going to mix up this bread. I'm going to put it aside. I will come back to do the inventory thing either this afternoon or tomorrow morning as the end of this video. And then, yeah, we'll see where we go from there. So it is Tuesday morning. I have work Wednesday, Thursday. I did the bread this morning. I baked it off. I'll put some footage in here of the focaccia that I did and the boule that I did of bread for today, tomorrow eating. And then I spent the day doing shopping lists and things like that. So I did my normal inventory. I'll put a screenshot here of it. I did all my normal things. I inventoried my base numbers that are in the house and then put how much I'd like to be and how much I need to buy to bring it to that. Now, the numbers aren't quite accurate at the moment because these shopping trips have changed structure with the staying overnight somewhere and things like that. So I do need to update all of my inventory pages, but I haven't done it yet because I do need like 1 or 2 of these shopping trips first before I really decide exactly how I'm going to do that. I have been, however, able to inventory a little bit easier. Now, the kitchen isn't finished, but I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek. We managed to buy some secondhand grocery store shelving. I think it was like 18 months ago. It was ages ago. But we didn't have anywhere to put it up. Now, we've since put it up here in the kitchen now that we've rearranged and started sorting out how I'm going to store everything on there. It's still not ideal yet. We're still figuring out some of the things that need to go on it, some of the containers that are best suited for the shape of the shelves, adjusting the heights of the shelves and all that sort of thing to be able to best use the space most efficiently. I have done some planning. Again, I'll put a screenshot here rather than try and rearrange my camera when this video is already going to be quite long. I think I've got 2 weeks worth on this of content in this video, so we'll see. Anyway, my normal planner type thing that I try and decide on meals, check my half price specials at Coles and Woolworths. I am going to do lists up on Coles and Woolworths as well that shows for Browns Plains Shopping Centre so that I can print them and it'll be in the order of the aisles, so it should be easy to not forget things because in person is harder than doing it online. Once we've stayed at this Airbnb once, we might be able to do delivery for groceries next time, but I'm not comfortable doing that just yet, not until we've stayed there and checked out the surroundings and how it's going to go with manoeuvring the trailer and things like that. So for the moment, we're going to do it the same way we did it last time and go into the shops and do it all in person, take it up to the car like we were doing. So there is a few things. Kavik has been requesting donuts, so I'm going to make some like fried glazed donuts at some point this month. I tested out the sous vide on the power. The sous vide works really well, and I had a chat with Andrea, who's a viewer, about different things that she sous vides and stuff, and there's a few things that I want to try doing in the sous vide. The new ovens have proven to be challenging but fine. The space in them, they are a lot smaller than a commercial oven. The cavity, there's just no, so like my bread baker that I used to bake the boule this morning, I had to have both ovens running to be able to bake the tray of focaccia as well as just one of those bread ovens, which was unfortunate. But that's the way it's going to be. I'm just going to have to figure out that as I go. But it may mean some of my bulk cooking becomes a little bit more challenging as well. Though I do find that I can use both trays in full. I just have to rotate them, but I just have to remember to do that. Things on the top tend to brown quicker than the things underneath because of the reflective heat from the top of the oven and things like that. So we will figure it out. 2 years ago, I had to do all the figuring out of the other oven as well. So, you know, that's just the way it goes. So, other than that, what haven't we got? We haven't, we didn't have gyoza last month because of the lack of fridge in transit. So that we can do that this month. And the crispy noodles for the crispy chow mein stir fry, which is a favorite that we normally have every time. I have had some requests to cover some things again in videos. The instant oatmeal, which I was supposed to do yesterday, but we had the power issues, so I haven't done. The okonomiyaki or Japanese pancake, that also has been requested. I asked Darryl if there's anything he wanted specifically. More pork belly, more steak, all the normal stuff, so that's fine. We're working our way through that half cow. I don't think I've got much plain mince left. I will have to have a look, but I think we're pretty low. So I might need to buy mince again this month. We do have a few of those bologneses in the freezer pre-made, but I was going to make some lasagnas up using that pasta. That we'll see how that goes, because I don't know if freezing it and then defrosting it will work for rolling it out or not. I may have to make more, which it's a waste of ingredients, but luckily I was trying to use up eggs anyway. So, the kids tried that ice cream last night that I made and really enjoyed it, so that was good. So yeah, I haven't got intense plans for the next period, and I'm not entirely sure how long this grocery is going to go. I'm just going to have a think about that, have a look at dates available on the Airbnb for the next time and when the holidays fall and things like that. I also need to figure out where I bought my Ninja slushie from. It has stopped working. It just will not even turn on again. So that's unfortunate. But I need to keep that in mind when I'm shopping. We don't need the sugary cordials if we don't have the slushie. They're happy to drink the sugar-free ones. So yeah, so let's have a look at the new shelving. So this is the supermarket shelving. It is double-sided. There is still a lot of mess around as we get these things sorted, but it is double-sided. We cleaned all the surfaces off before when we put these together, but we've done a whole lot of construction and stuff in here, so you can see it's already dusty, and some of these jars were moved from up the top, so they were already dusty. I've talked to the kids about cleaning them up for me, but no one's done that yet. So this side is predominantly the canned goods with some of the pre-bought stuff down the bottom there that we buy. So this side is the most protected from sunlight. So this is the side that we decided to do the canning stuff on, the canned goods in the clear jars. Now we're in the middle of an aisle like a shopping centre, so it's kind of hard to get the view correct, but we've got the ones on the right hand side, and we've got some shorter shelves which have a lot of canned goods on them, a lot of spices and things like that. I've got a row of these, oh, that's fantastic for filming purposes, isn't it? A row of these lift open containers. Now I bought them, they were inexpensive, they fit their purpose. They don't seal very well, but that wasn't the intent, wasn't to have them sealed. It was more just to keep things in them from getting dusty and dirty, which is what they're doing. Nothing open in them, so it's always stuff in packaging in them, but they're easily accessible, easily viewable as to what's in them. I need to put that connection back on. And then on the bottom shelf is tubs. So we've got these totes in here at the moment. They are not going to be my preferred tub at the moment though. They do fit the grey buckets as well, these bottom rows. So we got a row of those, and then then on the other side we have a similar sort of a thing. We have a row of the tubs again, and then a higher one that fits some of these larger jars like this, and a narrower one at the top. Again with the totes at the bottom. These totes are actually quite good because they fit vertically like that, so it's much easier to get something in and out of them than it is that. We've been sorting all the excess lids and stuff, so we've got a few containers here that we've been sorting those, and I actually bought myself these white containers here that I haven't used yet. These white containers here, we've got extra shelves, so we're going to adjust the shelf heights and put an extra shelf in here that those white containers can go on, that these lids can be sorted into, sort of thing. This side is the side closest to the yard, so it is the side that accumulates dirt quicker and all that sort of thing. So on this side, it is mostly going to be the high rotation stuff that the kids use. We've got cordials, we've got up the top there is jams, and there is peanut butters and maple syrups and things like that. The coconut cream that they use for their hot drinks and stuff, muffin mix and all that sort of stuff. High rotation stuff on this side, or long-term storage on this side, because this is the side that's going to get the dirtiest. We may end up putting something here to help protect this side, but at the moment this has become just a bit of a dumping ground, this particular side of miscellaneous things, while we figure out where everything's going. So we're not quite there yet to share the kitchen and everything. Obviously we've got this wall up. I don't know if you can see, but Darryl started putting in PowerPoints for me. We've got to stain that wall. We're going to put shelving up there as well. The rest of the wall needs the extra fridge and freezer and stuff like that. We've got cupboards that were pre-ordered because they were 30% off. The cupboards coming for there as well, and all that sort of thing. So eventually you'll get a good overview of it. But for the moment, it's still just in progress. But that shelving is in its spot and we're going to use it accordingly. So that just shows how much easier it is to inventory things when everything is right there on display, like a supermarket shelf. Now that comes back to that whole thing where people say, you know, put doors on it and everything, protect everything. And yeah, I get it, I do. It would stop me having to clean things when I grab it off. It would stop the dust and all that. But the ability to, you'd have to have them further apart if you've got openable doors. Trying to put sliding doors on something like that is difficult. Using fabric is just, the fabric needs cleaning all the time. It's just not feasible. So open shelves are what works for me, practically. And it'll just have to be what it is for the moment. And we will figure it out as we go along. But sneak peek on that and the planning, not getting too in depth into the planning of this particular trip. And that's it for the moment. So I'm going to try and get this video edited and out to be released Friday morning or Saturday, whenever, but sometime as I'm gone. And then I will get the grocery one sorted as well. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, everyone.